escape the shadows, find the truth.
Ionia, the apparent harmony of Ionia, lies the stories of those who have been cast aside. Zed's story began as a young boy on the cold steps of the Kinku Order. Inducted into the order by Grandmaster Kusho himself, Zed found his place in the world behind the temple's millennium-old walls. Devoted to understanding the spiritual principles of the Kinku, he surpassed his peers in both combat training and lessons. Yet, he still felt overshadowed by his master's son, Shen. While Zed's passion was evident in every technique he learned to perfection, he was not as emotionally stable as Shen. Despite this, the two students became as close as brothers. In the years that followed, they traveled Ionia with their masters in pursuit of the infamous assassin, the Golden Demon. When they finally caught this monster, they found him to be a mere mortal by the name of Kada Jin. The young Zed raised his swords and charged at the man, but Kusho stopped him, ordering Jin to be imprisoned. As they returned to the temple, Zed's heart filled with resentment. He began to fail in his studies. He could not get over the memories of Jin's gruesome murders. The growing tension between Ionia and the expansionist forces of Noxus added to his frustration. As Shen grew up, he became more of a man who was not affected by his emotions like his father, while Zed could not stand evil going unpunished because of the lofty ideals of maintaining the balance. While wandering the depths of the temple's secret catacombs, he found a black, ornate box. Although it was forbidden for anyone but the cult's masters to open the box, Zed looked inside. Suddenly, his mind was filled with shadows. The shadows fed Zed's resentment with ruthlessness towards the weak and made him feel the power of ancient dark magic. When Zed returned to the light of the temple, he encountered Grandmaster Kusho. He demanded that the Kinku fight the Noxian invaders with all the means at his disposal. When Kusho refused, Zed turned his back on the cult that had raised him. Once freed from the limitations of his Kinko teachings, he gathered followers to train for war against Noxus. He would brutally kill anyone who threatened his homeland or did not work to defend it, including the Vastaya, who were not on the side of the country. Zed advised his followers to lose themselves in the excitement of battle, but it did not take long for him to realize that without the black box, his own skills would not be enough to fulfill his desires. He gathered his new apprentices and returned to the Kinku temple. Kusho welcomed him. The old man laid his weapons at Zed's feet, imploring his former apprentice to abandon the shadows and return to a more balanced path. Zed returned to the temple steps a few seconds later, the black box in one hand and his freshly blood-stained weapon in the other. As the Kinku members stood in shock, Zed's warriors massacred them. Zed then took over the temple, founded the Shadow Cult, and began training his apprentices in the ways of dark warfare. They carved shadow tattoos into their skin and learned to fight alongside hidden reflections of themselves. Zed took advantage of the ongoing war with Noxus and the suffering it inflicted on the Ionians. After the massacre near the Epul River, he came across Cain, a Noxian child soldier armed only with a farmer's sickle. He knew at first glance that the boy was a weapon waiting to be sharpened, and took him in as his special apprentice. He saw in his young apprentice a devotion to his cause, that was as pure as his own. He saw Cain as the future of the Shadow cult. While Zed had not reconciled with Shen and the surviving members of the King Ku, now scattered throughout the provinces of the country, the two cults came to a tense accord after the war. Zed knew he had inflicted irreparable wounds. In recent years, it had become clear that the First Lands was out of balance, and would remain so for good. Spiritual harmony meant nothing to Zed. He is willing to do whatever is necessary to help Ionia achieve victory.